So the topic, good evening everyone. I apologize, I'm not able to join in person, although I really want to be there uh, physically and to deliver this lecture. But then let's use the technology. So I'll start with the presentation without wasting time. So topic assigned is cardiopulmonary rehabilitation. So in this topic, actually, it's an amalgam of two systems, cardiac and pulmonary. So I try to incorporate both the systems as much as possible, but ideally speaking, these are the two different topics and presented separately. So cardiac rehabilitation, cardiopulmonary rehabilitation is a comprehensive program designed to improve the physical and emotional health of individuals with heart and lung conditions. Why it is so important? The importance lies because it's crucial for recovery after events like heart attacks, surgeries, or chronic lung diseases. It enhances the recovery, promotes healthier lifestyles, and reduces the healthcare costs. The definitions are the WHO says define like cardiac rehabilitation is the sum of activities required to influence favorably the underlying cause of the disease as well as to provide the best possible physical, mental, and social conditions so that the patients may be their own efforts preserve or resume when loss as normal place as possible in the community. For pulmonary rehabilitation, as per the NICE guidelines of COPD, it is a multidisciplinary program of care for patients with chronic respiratory impairments that is individually tailored and designed to optimize each patient's physical and social performance and autonomy. Why this is so important? Because look at the stats. The Global Burden of Disease Study 1990 to 2016 states that the cardiovascular disease contributed 28.1% of the total deaths and 14.1% of the total disability adjusted life years in India in 2016, compared with 15.2 and 6.9 respectively in 1990. So it is gradually increasing, and a systematic review and meta-analysis findings suggest a high prevalence of COPD in India among adults. So there are the various risk factors or causes for we can say for the cardiopulmonary illness. Few are modifiable and few are not modifiable. But the over the past 2-3 years of this COVID era, there are the few important you can say the causes which will add on the cardiopulmonary disease graph. So we can call it as a post-pandemic effect. It will definitely raise the cardiac and pulmonary illnesses. Then nowadays a new norm is following, like people are telling this idiom very frequently, like sitting is new smoking. So we are emphasizing to walk and to cut down the sedentary life as much as possible. Next is stress and smoking. These S are very important, and they will you can say they will add so many ailments or illnesses and so many unexplored illnesses you can say, but they are the culprit behind increase in cardiac and pulmonary diseases. Then fast food. So I just jokes apart, I just want to tell there is a victim says our body is made of 5 elements, right? So nowadays in this area, the 5 elements is pizza, burger, coke, Pepsi, alcohol. So it completely change the elements of our life, and so this will create the further addition to the cardiopulmonary disease and leads to NASH, obesity, and so many other things. Next is obesity. And the most important cause nowadays for respiratory diseases is pollution. So why cardiopulmonary rehabilitation is important? Why we are looking forward towards all these cardiopulmonary rehabilitation programs? Because our Atharva Veda says Jivem Sharada Shatam. Everybody wants secret of 100 years of healthy and active life, a prayer of long life in Atharva Veda, which says Jivam Sharda Shatam, हे सूर्य हम 100 वर्ष तक जीवित रहें. This is our wish. पश्चिम शरद शतम, हे सूर्य हम 100 वर्षों तक देखते रहे, मतलब एक्टिव रहे। बुद्धिम शरद शतम, हे सूर्य हम 100 वर्षों तक बुद्धि युक्त रहे। तो ये हमारी प्रेयर्स हैं जो अथर्व वेदा में लिखी हैं। सो फॉर टू अचीव दिस we need to basically look for towards these programs, so increase the quality and increase the you can say years to the quality years to the our life. So objectives of cardiopulmonary rehabilitation, this is so important. Risk assessment and prevention of recurrence, this is the most important objective of cardiopulmonary rehabilitation program. Next is to limit the physiological and psychological effects of the illness. And it's a proven in many studies that it will limit the physiological and psychological effects of the illness. Then reduce hospitalization to reduce the risk for sudden death and mortality. This is very, very important. To stabilize or reverse the disease effects like atherosclerotic process and lung tissue damage. And finally, what we achieve is to enhance the quality of life of a person. We are aiming towards early return to the work and better cardiovascular and fitness. Then who will going to do this thing? So there is a multidisciplinary team structure, and we need multiple people to achieve this goal, like cardiologist, cardiothoracic surgeon, obviously physiatrist is a team leader, then pulmonologist, psychologist, physiotherapist, occupational therapist. The caregiver is also part of team, nursing staff, vocational counselor, dietitian, and psychiatrist, I must say. And the patient is, of course, is the center of all these programs. So what are the core components of the cardiopulmonary rehabilitation? The most important thing I must say is the patient education. Second is, because you are a doctor, so we need to optimize the medical management as well, risk assessment and goal setting, nutritional advice, the weight management, physical reconditioning exercises, which is very, very important part. And in pulmonary rehab, the controlled breathing and secretion management is also a very important part. Then psychological support is also very important, which will enhance the quality of life. And then return to employment, how the person will go to employ, how many days they have to stay back in hospital, then return to the leisure, hobbies, driving, and further tasks. Then, of course, the maintenance phase is go in a long way, and people will not be compliant and they'll be reluctant. So we have to enhance and emphasize for the maintenance and feedback also. And what we are going to achieve is overall improved quality of life. So I'll pick from the patient of education, start with the patient of education. Patient education. We'll educate the patient about the disease management. What we are going to do in this program, that is very, very important. You have to educate the patient about this. So you make him understand the conditions such as if you are doing cardiac, myocardial infarction, and if the person is having COPD, then you have to explain the COPD thing. And some patients may have both the components, so accordingly you will customize and tailor, and you have to explain about the disease. Then medications management, and you will emphasize or you educate the patient about the importance of adherence to these medication and understanding the side effects and effects of the medications. Through education, patient can become more skilled. Why this is important? Because they are more skilled, confident, and compliant, which is very, very important for such a treatment plan, because it's not a single day treatment plan. It goes a long way, so it is a very, very important thing. You can say the education may be of maybe given in isolation. It may be the group education or the peer education, you can say. So it can be in any ways. So we have done our share of education by the means of these information booklets. For cardiac rehabilitation, there are the, you can say, we started in 2022 simultaneously. First thing we started at our center is pulmonary rehabilitation. Then we'll start the pulmonary tele rehab at the COVID times. Then 2022, we started with the cardiac rehabilitation. And 2024, we've done a CME and the further expansion of the cardiac rehabilitation services. So we will supplement with the patient information booklets on these events, and we'll circulate these booklets also. We'll make sure to circulate this booklet among staff and patients for the sake of information. So next is pharmacotherapy. As a doctor, we should be aware about the drugs, or you can say medications used in the cardiac conditions and in COPD, or you can say pulmonary rehabilitation. So the important drugs in cardiac diseases, you must be aware about the beta blockers, what are the doses, what are the side effects. Then only you are able to explain the patient, or you can address the any queries. And antiplatelet medications, statins, loop diuretics, anticoagulants. Other medications for cardiac diseases you must be aware about ACE inhibitors, angiotensin 2 receptor blockers, angiotensin receptor, uh, naproxen inhibitors, CCBs, and digitalis depressions, vasodilators. And for COPD, you must be aware about bronchodilators, glucocorticoids, long-term oxygen therapies, and you know when to you can say when to increase the doses, when to decrease the doses, what are the probable side effects, because once the patient is discharged from the acute care, that patient is absolutely under your care. So whatever complaint is there, they will ask you, and if you are not aware, but this is not my field, respiratory person or cardiology person will tell, then patient will not trust you. So we'll just talk about the COPD in multiple stages. For mild COPD, you can give short-acting bronchodilators, and for all the stages, you can add on the influenza vaccination, which will actively reduce the risk factors. For moderate cases, you can give short bronchodilators and add on with the you can give some long bronchodilators also if it is needed. In the severe cases, you can definitely give long bronchodilators, and if needed, you can give inhaled glucocorticoids. And very severe, obviously, you need to add oxygen sometimes. And if it is not manageable, then you consider for the surgical treatments or referrals. It is the initial assessments. It should be carried out in individual basis. Each patient's personal requirements and risk factors should be considered in mind, because this is actually very unique. So comprehensive medical history, that is review of cardiovascular and pulmonary health, physical examination, assessment of vital signs and lung functions or what are the heart functions, exercise testing, that is baseline assessment of exercise capacity is very important. It may be the treadmill test or simple, you can say 6-minute walk test, whatever is the availability with you at your center. And then further, we'll move on the detailed examination. Detailed examination, then you further explore the medical history. What are the chief complaints? Suppose per se, if there's a person with respiratory illness, COPD, they may be having dyspnea, breathlessness, weight loss, deconditioning. So you have to explore further each and every parameters from that person. And then chief complaints, how long the duration is there, what is the risk stratification, in which category it will mild, moderate, and severe, where this person will fall. Then documentation of all the medication that person is taking. Then assess smoking and other modifiable risk factors, psychological factors including anxiety, depression, what is the nutritional status, BMI, then vitals you need to record, then total episodes of dyspnea, level of breathlessness, cough, and the cough is with or without the expectoration, you need to record. Then 6-minute walk test, which is a very simple test. You can record at your center, or then spirometry or pulmonary function test. Then further cardiac function test for a person with cardiac ailment. So you need to do baseline 6-minute walk test with at least 30-minute rest between the tests. And for breathlessness, you can record what is the level of breathlessness as per the modified medical research council dyspnea scale, which is shown in the screen, or modified Borg dyspnea scale during exercise assessment. So what is your exercise prescription is aiming? Definitely, I tell that it's an individualized program. You have to tailor the exercise according to the need of the patient and initial assessments. So the kind of exercises is aerobic activities, strength training, then flexibility, stretching, and balance exercises. So what is the effect of exercise program? The exercise will increase the maximal oxygen uptake, that will increase in the blood volume, increase in HB level and stroke volume, improvement in the peripheral uses of the oxygen, increased muscular strength and improved blood and energy supply, improved muscle coordination, change in the body composition with increased muscle mass, decrease adipose tissue, and improve sensation well-being. And finally, why we are doing all this hustle and bustle? This is for the increased survival, of course. That will lead to the increased survival, chances of the survival. So after assessment, what we need is the calculation of the target heart rate is very, very important, and the set level of the rating of perceived exertion, what level exertion or what intensity exercise you are doing. So you have to set a target heart rate. Then Vogue scale is of one is a revised, that is a 10-point scale. The initial one is the 15-point scale, where we can check with the rate of perceived exertion in an outcome measure scale and use to cause one exercise intensity without the need to rely upon. So for cardiac, you can say cardiac rehabilitation, we need to use this 15-point scale, and for the you can say pulmonary and dyspnea, you can use this 10-point scale. So because for cardiac activities, this 15-point scale is very easy, and you can use you can say you can use it as simply as like whatever the heart rate is come and with the perceived exertion, you can multiply with the 10 and you will simply get a target heart rate. So this is easy to administer for cardiac rehabilitation purpose. Then you can use Kahneman formula for drawing the, you can say, minimum training threshold and maximum training threshold. And the formula says is 220 minus age, here you get the maximum heart rate, and then maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate multiplied by 0.50. That is, if you want to do exercise in 50 to 70% of intensity, then and plus the resting heart rate, here you'll get the minimum training threshold. Similarly, heart rate reserve, which is maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate multiplied by 0.70, that is for 70% intensity, plus resting heart rate, you will get the maximum training threshold. So your training must be this minimum and maximum training thresholds. So, and you have to weigh you as per the need of the patient or what is the condition of the patient after clinical assessment. The patient, in which category the patient will fall and how much intensity is required at this current position of time. It will gradually increase as per the condition of the patient will improve. So the ACSM guidelines for exercise prescription component will involve the cardiorespiratory endurance, strength and muscle endurance, and flexibility. So cardiorespiratory endurance training, dynamic exercise of large muscle group, and the mode may be, it can be for treadmill walking, ground or treadmill walking, stationary leg cycling, outdoor bicycling, stair climbing. The frequency is for 3 to 5 days a week or at least 3 times in a week. Duration is 20 to 60 minutes per session, and the intensity is 50 to 85%. Heart rate reserve is 65 to 90% maximum heart rate, and the rate of perceived exertion is 12 to 16. And you have to assess as per the requirement of the patient, so you can decrease it down or increase it down. Then strength and muscle endurance training. Activities resistance training, that is low resistance with high repetitions. The mode is variable resistance, hydraulic weight machines, dumbbells, weighted curbs, CeraVents, and free weights. The frequency is 2 to 3 days per week, one set of 3 to 20 repetition on 8 to 10 exercises that include all of the major muscle groups. The intensity is for violational exhaustion on each set or stop 2 to 3 repetition before the violational exhaustion. Then yes, stretching, the activity for static stretching of all major muscle groups, frequency is minimum of 2 to 3 days per week, ideally 5 to 7 days per week, and 50 to 30 seconds per exercise and 2 to 4 stretching exercise sets. The intensity is to stretch to tightness at the end of the range of motion, but not to the pain. Then if we are dealing with a pulmonary rehabilitation and we are having secretions, so we need to go for controlled cuff techniques. In this technique, the patient assumes an upright sitting position, inhales deeply, holds the breath for several seconds, contract the abdominal muscles, bear down, and then open the glottis and rapidly, forcefully exhales while contracting the abdominal muscles and leaning slightly forward. This is repeated 2 to 3 times and followed by normal breath for several minutes. It may be, it can be used the huffing technique or postural drainage techniques. and with the assistance with the gravity. What are the precautions we need to take? We have given exercises, we have calculated the target heart rate. The precaution is very much when to stop, when not to do. So the patient should be evaluated for contraindication, which is very, very important, and precautions to exercises. And criteria of termination of the test or exercise should be well defined, informed, and pasted in the area of testing station. I mean, the team should be really thorough with the termination criteria. For cardiac patient, it must be the chest pain, sweating, palpitations, and for respiratory patient, it may be the breathlessness or dyspnea. So they must be thorough when to stop and when to start. The next aspect is nutrition. It is really very important aspect while doing the cardiopulmonary rehabilitation, because maintaining a good state of nutrition is fundamental in the rehabilitation of patients with chronic respiratory as well as cardiac disease. Where I just want to give one example. Where breathing requires extra 450 to 700 calories as per a study, and other than the normal daily requirement. So is advised for the patient of COPD and other pulmonary disease. If you will not replenish this amount of energy or extra calories, then there is no point of pulmonary rehabilitation, because the where the protein, where the extra calorie is not coming, so you will not build up the muscle. So this is the pathogenesis of increased calorie expenditure, increased work of breathing because of disease process and because of rehab thing. So energy expenditure is further increased. So there is an increased demand of calorie, and this need to be fulfilled with the proteins, high proteins and carbs. So eat plenty of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and aim for 2 serves of fruit each day, 5 serves of vegetables, whole grain breads and cereals, and include a variety of healthy protein-rich food, eggs, legumes, fish and seafood, whatever is your preference is. So food with healthy polyunsaturated fats, and eat less amount of salt. Then lifestyle or behavioral modification. Smoking cessation is also very important part. Resources and support for quitting smoking, and recently one clinic for smoking cessation is, I think, inaugurated in AIIMS also. So there are so many means. You can do counseling, nicotine patches, nicotine gums. So because this is very, very important thing to achieve a successful pulmonary or cardiac rehabilitation. Then nutritional education we have already discussed. It is tailor made and titrated, and weight management, like we have to shift a patient to a healthy diet. Then stress management and sleep. Yes, of course, these are very important aspects of the treatment. Then ongoing evaluation, what we have to do, regular process tracking. We should not lose out with the process of the tracking, because otherwise the patient will go. Because in cardiac programs or pulmonary programs, there's a, you can say 50% of attrition rate. So you have to work hard to make the patient to continue with the program. So monitor improvement in exercise capacity, keep them motivated and tell them the effects, and make up peer groups, which will be really helpful. So outcome measures, the quality of life assessment, symptoms or quality of life questionnaires you should fill and give a positive feedbacks. Then benefits, we have already discussed the physical benefits, the increase or improved exercise tolerance and reduced fatigue. It will enhance the muscle strength and flexibility, increase reperfusion and prevent recurrence, and finally decrease the mortality and hospitalization. Psychological benefits, that is decrease anxiety, depression through social interactions and support, then increase self-efficacy and motivation. The long term is lower mortality rate, and you can say not in only high risk but any kind of population. Better management of the comorbidities is also part of this the treatment, and it's a health benefit for the program. What are the challenges? If this is so good, the program is so good, what are the challenges? So the challenges are barriers to participation. People do not want to continue after second or third ones. Once they get discharged, in cardiac, we can say that once they get discharged, they never come back. If they come back for a follow-up for the medication purpose only. Similarly, in the pulmonary rehab, when the patient get better, they will just not comply and they'll have the treatment in between. Who will do the exercise? The service itself is very limited. If it is in a private sector, will cost them like you can say it's a very expensive for them, and in government setup the services are very limited. Further, they are not aware about the programs or aware about such kind of things. Then compliance, of course, I already explained, is very poor. Accessibility issues, and then financial constraints. If it is available in private setups, the cost or the amount they pay is very, you can say, huge, and it is not be reimbursable. So, what are the future directions in the cardiopulmonary rehabilitation field? We should integrate technology. While we are doing cardiac rehab, we made WhatsApp groups, we use a tele mode, we made the peer groups, and we will do the phone calls also to get connected with the patients. So we somehow integrate the technology for you can say to make the program last or make the treatment last to make the patient more compliant, and use of telehealth like for remote monitoring and consultations, and mobile apps for tracking progress like in COVID time, or you can say in the pulmonary tele-rehab, we use the mobile apps or tracking processes, and they give us send us the pictures, and we'll connect on this telemedia also. So what is the call of action? We should encourage healthcare providers to refer eligible patients. This is the big problem. They also don't refer. If some patients come to us, they'll not refer to us and promote awareness of the CPR program. And of course, we need opening of the new services in different regions. So this is our little effort for cardiopulmonary rehabilitation. We have pulmonary rehabilitation, which is further uh, been you can say is been equipped with tele equipments, and we have done 2 years tele rehab for pulmonary patients, and we'll get nice feedbacks, and our fellow colleagues also get improved. We started cardiac rehab in 2022 September, and we can then further increase the services and improve the services, and we will fill out the lacuna and gaps. And in the second picture, which is of the 2024, you can see my respectable teachers. We are come as to motivate us and give us directions, and they are the renowned speakers. And definitely this will add value to our future programs. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.